Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of Talking Elite. I know this is a little weird because, it's a Sunday. Why is Talking Elite happening right now? Just to let you guys all know, my work schedule had changed. I was working Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday during the day. Well, I have just been promoted at work. So now I am going to be working nights, and that includes a Thursday night. So I will not be doing Talking Elite on Thursdays. We're trying something new here with Talking Elite on a Sunday. Hopefully, it brings in eyes. It's a Sunday night. People are at home. People are watching whether TV or online stuff. So I think it's really cool to give this a try. It's something new, something different that a lot of people haven't seen. And Connor and I talked, and we have mentioned that, hey, this could be something different, maybe changing it up, something new, changing the schedule. So that is the reason why I am doing it tonight. So it's just me right now, another solo act, one man show, as I had done before for one of my weekly reviews. But also, it's going to be a quick show because we're just going to be talking about the summer of 2024 so far in pro wrestling. There's been a lot of things that's happened so far in the summer of 2024. I think just right now we'll talk about a little bit of them, as well as if more people trickle in. I did share it with everybody in our group. If anybody wants to join, so be it. They can join. If not, I can run it from here. If you guys want to leave comments, please leave comments. I would love to respond to your guys' comments. I'll share them here. But we're gonna go with summer schedules. So for me, I feel like summer begins at the end of May and ends maybe September 1st. So for me, that's kind of like the take of summer. That's what summer is to me. Is end of May, first day of September. Those months in between, that's the summertime in wrestling. Granted, we are still in August, but we're almost towards the end, and a lot of stuff has happened this summer in professional wrestling, from people debuting in other promotions to big events happening to, you know, debuts of stables to heel turns to a whole bunch of stuff. So it's something that, I figured bring up. Let's talk about it. So to start off the show tonight, we're going to talk about something about crossovers. So we all are aware that NXT WWE has a little partnership with TNA right now. So one of the big things that happened, and this was late May, Jordan Grace, who again is the TNA Knockouts champion, she appeared at the Royal Rumble in January. She appeared on NXT and challenged Roxanne Perez. So they had a match scheduled for that. So there is a barrier for there. And for me, I think that's awesome. I want to see more barriers broken down like that. We're getting the TNA, WWE kind of integrating into one another, kind of working together. But I'd like to see more doors, forbidden doors, as it were, opened up. And I feel like we may get that in 2025. I don't know. I would love to see it. I mean, you're seeing all these not previous ex WWE wrestlers going to AEW. You're seeing all the WWE people showing up in TNA. You're seeing TNA showing up in WWE. You're even seeing AEW showing up in New Japan, CMLL. So I'd like to see more doors open up for more wrestlers to appear in other promotions. Riley, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining. Appreciate. So, where is everyone, Riley? It's a one-man show right now. I gave people the options. If you're just joining us, Riley, the reason we're doing Talking Elite on Sundays now is my schedule changed. Got a promotion, so now they moved me to nights from Wednesday to Saturday. So from Wednesday night to Saturday night, I'm working, and Thursday nights were a no-go for me for Talking Elite. But I wanted to give you guys some content and give you guys Talking Elite shows. They want to leave you guys high and dry. So Connor and I talked, and we're going to be doing them Sundays. I know this is a little bit of a late show. Sorry about that. Moving forward, we're going to do it a little earlier in the night. So making sure people are able to join, people to watch and enjoy the show. And so that's pretty much where we're at. So again, Riley, thank you for the question. Thank you for joining me tonight. Like I said, if more people trickle in from our group, I'll add them to the studio. We'll talk, So right now, I'm just going one-man band as it was, not a three-man band. But so am I. I'm off work too, Riley. So yeah, I appreciate the view, bud. So and we appreciate the subscribing to us. Appreciate that, bud, and always watching and commenting and joining us. So thank you. And so yeah, so like I said, with the forbidden door of all these wrestlers, I mean, who are some people you guys want to see crossover into different promotions? I think one name is big is Joe Hendry. Everybody loves Joe Hendry. Heck, my name down here, I mean, it's based off his song, say his name and he appears, So I think a lot of people want to see Joe Henry more often in WWE. There's people that are saying, hey, I'd love to see Bobby Lashley and MVP go over to AEW. Even though they were released from WWE, and they'll be in AEW, they're still former WWE guys appearing in a new promotion. So I think there's a lot of things that a lot of people want to see. So the crossover was really cool. We're going to skip ahead now to June. June, we had former NXT wrestler Tatum Paxley debut in TNA, as well as Jeff Hardy. We had Jeff Hardy leave AEW and literally just jump back to TNA, which was probably a good thing. I think him and Matt just fit so well in TNA. I love their TNA days. I mean, it was the birth of Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero. So I think it would be really cool to see where they go with it and everything like that. Yes, Joe Henry definitely signed with WWE wherever his deal with TNA is up. I think so. I think Joe Henry is a big enough name to where WWE's like, we can use this guy. I mean, I kind of compare it to how Danhausen basically just made a name for himself on the interwebs, and AEW debuted him, and everywhere you went at AEW show, everybody was asking for Danhausen. I feel like that's the thing going on with Joe Henry. Is Joe Henry is that credibility and that go-getter for WWE, and I think you'll get eyes on the product more because there's so many of those TNA diehards that know Joe Henry. Heck, even people who know him from his early, like his independent days, want to follow and see where this guy goes. But I also agree that Lashley and MVP in TNA would be great. I mean, we had Lashley in TNA a while ago. He did have a little bit of a run after he left WWE the first time, I believe, and then he came back to WWE, but he was in TNA for a while. So I do remember that. But yeah, no, like I said, I think all these wrestlers going to different promotions, returning to the promotions that they did before, i.e., like I said, Jeff Hardy just now going back to TNA, and then you had Tatum Paxley show up in TNA and wrestle her first match against All Odds. So, that partnership, again, has been the biggest thing that's been like the go-getter for the summer of pro wrestling between TNA and WWE. I mean, it was started before the summer, but it has really grown more, because now you've got WWE people going to WWE NXT people going to TNA pay-per-views. And then you got TNA wrestlers coming to WWE. I mean, it was so wild to think that Dana Brooke, who was let go, became Ash by Elegance. She shows up at that pay-per-view between Jordan Grace and Roxanne Perez and just back on an NXT TV. And people are like, wait, she was released. And so that partnership gives us wrestlers that can come back to appear. So that's another thing is, hey, maybe we see Nick Nemeth again. We don't know. Maybe we see Dolph Ziggler, but he's going to keep the Nick Nemeth name. I don't think we want him to revert back to Dolph Ziggler, even though that's what most of us remember him as is Dolph Ziggler. So then we move a little further into June. June was a big month in professional wrestling, especially in WWE, because 4 months we had the build-up for it. 4 months we've been wanting to see it. 4 months we've been seeing vignettes for it and little videotapes and little glitches. But finally, on June 17th, the Wyatt Six made their debut on WWE Raw. They caused mayhem in the WWE Raw set. I mean, you thought it was over, Jey Uso doing the yeet thing and all that stuff. But then at the end of Raw, the lights fade and everyone's like, oh God. Then you hear familiar tone, and then you see the door. And then you're like, oh God, who's coming? It's Uncle Howdy. No, it's Abigail, Nikki Cross, crawling out to a lantern. And the way the cameras shoot nowadays, and I give credits due to Triple H and the production that they've changed now that they got rid of. I keep forgetting his name. It always escapes my name, but now they got rid of that certain director, whatever, of cameras. But it's so different, and I like it. And they're following backstage, and just the carnage you see backstage, from security guards laid out to the gorilla press area being destroyed and people laid out backstage of, seeing Chad Gable laid out, bloodied and everything like that. It's just crazy. And then obviously introducing each character from Bray Wyatt's mind, from his cartoons, from Rambling Rabbit to Abigail to Buzzy the Buzzard, Mercy the Buzzard, to Husky Pig, and then Uncle Howdy. So I would say that was probably one of the coolest debuts I've seen in a long time. I mean, that got a lot of excitement around it. I know a lot of people were dragging on with it, but I love how they executed it because nobody knew how they were going to execute it. The rumors were going around about, okay, I feel like we know each wrestler who's going to be these characters, but how are they going to debut them? And them as a collective like that, just destroying the whole background, the story with it, the combination of honoring Bray and also doing their own thing where they're like, we're left out. Nobody wanted us. We don't have families anymore. We're heartbroken. We're outsiders. Kind of bringing that together. I do like that. So real quick before we get back to that, Riley, yes. I would love them to have a Worlds Collide show where Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth is back. I did enjoy the NXT UK when they did the Worlds Collide. That was one of the coolest pay-per-view shows I've ever seen. It was a nice little combination of two brands under the same umbrella. So I like where your head's at there. But yes, so to finish up on that, this was by far the coolest debut return of pro wrestlers, and I feel like each one now has a purpose in that group, but also just they feel at home and they feel comfortable in a group like that. Some people would argue, well, some of them deserve to be solos. Well, here's the thing. Some of them do, some of them as a solo doesn't really work. Someone like a Dexter Lumis. I love Dexter Lumis, but Dexter Lumis needs to be in a group. I mean, the guy doesn't talk a lot. I mean, you get someone as a like a mouthpiece, like Taylor. I'm gonna call him Taylor Rotunda. I'm not gonna call him Bo Dallas. Okay, it's Taylor Rotunda. But someone like a Taylor, who's a voice piece for someone like a Dexter Lumis, I think every single one of those people have been, added perfectly to the group. I think their characters are great. I also think that the way they executed the debut was fantastic. So, but I will say this: the drag was too long. I think a lot of people said that was their complaint, was that it dragged on too long, and so they wanted it to happen sooner, which was fine. But I feel like anticipation like that is so good. That's why I felt like the return of Bray when he returned to, I believe it was Extreme Rules, when he returned, and the anticipation, during commercials they would play like the Alice song by Jefferson Airplane, and so I think that was brilliant. It gave the crowd something, and then they leaked it online. They had the codes, follow the rabbit hole, and it's what they did with the Wyatt Six. It's just dragging on like that, and a lot of people complain. They're like, "Oh, they should have just debuted sooner. This is dragging. This debute's not going to be awesome." And then boom, they knock it out of the park. So I will say, so far this summer, that has been my favorite thing so far. And actually, the Wyatt Six has been my favorite thing in WWE right now. I enjoy the the Bloodline stuff, which is okay. It's still dragging. The Judgment Day stuff can be hit or miss. I think the two things right now that I enjoy in WWE right now is the Punk McIntyre Seth freaking Rollins thing and the Wyatt Six. I think right now those two are the strongest things going on right now in WWE. But I mean, if you guys want to disagree with me, disagree with me. But those are the two best things that I think is going on right now in WWE. Then we move on to actually the next day, the next night at NXT, June 18th, Joe Hendry debuted in NXT. So we go back to Joe Hendry, being that face, being like, people love this guy. He's in NXT now. And so I do believe that he's going to populate a lot of views on NXT, especially when they move to the CW, if they decide to go forward with bringing him in a lot. And I'm pretty sure, like, the company and, the CW people are like, yeah, bring Joe Hendry in. He's going to bring in faces. So that people love him. I mean, he's so popular right now. I think I saw, like, a little feed where a news guy was doing a story and Joe Hendry appeared. And he's like, hey, Joe, no, get off my screen. Like, the guy's everywhere. And so I think that is great that you have that visibility as a pro wrestler. Like I said, it reminds me of a Danhausen. Danhausen did the same thing. And so I truly believe that Joe Hendry, both those feuds, I mean, Andrade and Carmelo, I think that's going to be a wonderful feud going forward. I think those two definitely are going to be two of the hottest faces on SmackDown. Honestly, think that's what they should do. If you need some mid-card wrestlers to be some good faces, especially when SmackDown moves to the USA, you definitely gotta have someone like Andrade and Carmelo on there. I mean, obviously you're gonna have, Cody Rhodes as your champ. A lot of stuff happening in 2025 with WWE, and them going to different networks and then Netflix and all this stuff. So it's going to be a crazy time. So moving forward, still sticking with WWE, because June 21st on SmackDown, Jacob Fat 2 makes his debut. And the Bloodline, boom, just destroys everything on set. I can't remember what episode that was. I don't know if that's that was the main event, was Cody and Solo, but then Jacob appeared and they destroyed both Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and they beat up Cody Rhodes. So Jacob Fat 2 showing up. I think he's also the best addition to the Bloodline. If anybody has watched some of his New Japan stuff, the guy's a beast. So I think Jacob Fat 2 is going to fit so well into WWE. I'm not going to lie. I'm very excited to see where they go with this. You never know. I mean, he just returned Friday too on SmackDown to destroy Roman Reigns. So I think I'd love to see where this goes with them. Yes, going back to this, 3 matches, they all been good. They could have best stuff. I agree. I would watch Carmelo and Andrade wrestle so many times because they are so good. And yes, he's been booked great well. I don't know if he'll be 100% a world champion. Him and one of the Tongas already hold tag team gold. So he's already won a tag team title, and he barely is 2 months into his WWE run. So, I mean, but that's the same with Jade Cargill. I mean, she was a few months in and she won tag team gold with Bianca. So, I mean, that just tells you how much faith WWE has some of this. We move on to some business and professional wrestling in June. New Japan Pro Wrestling merged with World Wonder Ring Stardom, or Stardom, whatever you guys want to call it. Merged, and it was finalized, and now Stardom is now a subsidiary of New Japan. So now we've got the women of Stardom being put into the same core as New Japan Pro Wrestling. So now New Japan Pro Wrestling is going to get a lot more Stardom women, Stardom superstars, wrestlers in their programming, which is great. If anybody knows me, I love Joshi or Joshi, however you say it, for the women's wrestling. They are awesome to watch. I mean, if anybody's been watching Raw or AEW and you see people like Shida, you see people like Rio, and you see people like Mariah May, or in WWE, you got Io Sky, you got Asuka, you got, oh my God, her name escapes me, with the flying elbow. You guys know who I'm talking about. She's with Io Sky. But Joshi, like, they are very talented, and the fact that New Japan has now merged with Stardom, I think we're going to see a lot more Joshi wrestlers in the men's side in New Japan, which I think would be really cool. Kiri saying thank you. Kiri saying thank you that for Riley. His name escapes me, man. It's been a long weekend. I forget names. But yeah, no. So the merger, big thing now. So we had something also happen back to WWE. As we talk about longevity of wrestlers, in July during Money in the Bank, John Cena announced that 2025 would be his last year of professional wrestling. So John Cena is retiring from the ring in December of 2025. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I feel about it. It's been a wild ride with John Cena. I mean, remember when he debuted for out of FCW back when he was the prototype, debuted in WWE against Kurt Angle. So he's had a interesting run. We've seen Super Cena, we've seen PG Cena, we've seen almost heel turn Cena, we've seen not corporate, but more so. I'm a WWE guy for life. Cena, like, he hasn't been anywhere else. Been WWE his whole life since he debuted in 2002. 2005, yeah, duh, that would be 23 years. A 23-year career for John Cena in WWE. Maybe even longer because he was with FCW in 2001, 2002. So maybe a little longer. But still, a 23 to 25-year career in professional wrestling. I mean, couldn't ask for a better end of just saying, hey, I'll do a couple matches here and there for 2025. I mean, I don't know who's some people you guys would like to see him wrestle in 2025. Would you guys like to see him keep doing what he's been doing and put over young talents like an Austin Theory and a Solo Sikoa? So I enjoy that. Give me a second. I'm going to take a bite of food while you guys write that. I mean, let me know. Where would you guys... A couple of matches that John Cena would have in 2025. Who do you want to see him wrestle? Do you want to see him reignite old rivalries with somebody? I could be wrong, but I saw someone post, hey, I'd love to see Cena reignite his rival with Orton. Could we see a Randy Orton heel turn in 2024? And have him and John Cena go at it one more time. Who knows? So, I mean, that's one thing we got to keep an eye on with Cena. Cena has been, he's had a career. I want to know also, I mean, I think there's been 2 or 3 favorite Cena moments for me. One has been in favor of Cena. 2 has been when he lost. And that's nothing against the guy. Very talented. Some people may say he's a hypocrite because of everything going on with when he had the whole Rock saga going on with the rivalry there, where he says, you ran off to Hollywood. I would never do that. WWE is my home. And then he runs off to Hollywood. So, John Cena gets a flack for that, with that rivalry between him and, Dwayne, who, by the way, new board member, majority share of WWE, which is still weird to see. So, people like him, Hunter, and Paul and Sean just now running WWE is just so weird to me. But, and not a single McMahon in sight. So it's very weird. But yeah, no. So 3 moments of Cena's career. The first one is when he actually wrestled against in 2005. Yeah, I agree, Johnson. That DX running WWE, DX and one part of the Nation of Domination is running WWE. I think that's hysterical. But again, they're pro wrestlers, so they understand the business side of it. And people have said it's been hit or miss with Hunter. The funny part is, as much as I dislike the man because of his personal stuff that he's done, and everything going on court wise, Vince McMahon did make WWE something different. when it happened, when he bought it from his father. And so, and it's grown. And you see that. Saw how it grew, but you also saw how he almost tore it from the inside out. His own creation. Inserting himself in storylines in the late 2010s that he really didn't need to insert himself in. I mean, did we really need to see him back at a WrestleMania, taking a horrible stunner from Stone Cold? No, we didn't need to see that. Did we need to see him, you know, come back and have a little storyline with Austin Theory? Probably not. And changing name of pro wrestlers? Probably not. But, the man did create something huge, and us as pro wrestling fans understand that. As much as we hate him right now and how disgusted we are with him and his personal behavior and all the allegations and all that stuff and what he's done, hate the man. But you got to give credit where credit's due, and the man created a global phenomenon that is WWE after he bought it from his father. So to go in that, and thank you, Johnson. I was actually about to move on to that. Hunter, since Paul has taken over creative, you see the difference. They just reverted Pete Dunne back to Pete Dunne from Butch, and now after this merger, people were worried about the merger and how it's going to affect pro wrestlers. Here's the nice thing with TKO, the company that runs it, and with Hunter and everybody at WWE, just recently, I don't know if you guys saw it. I'm sure you have. You guys are pro wrestling fans. But they just signed a deal where wrestlers can trademark their names, and when they leave, they keep those names. They won't take them back. So I think that's a good thing, that TKO signed that kind of agreement with pro wrestlers, because now you got someone like a Drew McIntyre. If Drew McIntyre wants to leave, he can keep Drew McIntyre as a name, even though I think a lot of people liked him on the indies with his other name. Again, it's been a long weekend. Drew Galloway, thank you. So I just remembered it. Drew Galloway, was his indie names and when he was over in TNA. But I think that's so nice now that they get those contracts with those pro wrestlers to keep their names and likeness. It's almost like NIL deals for college athletes where they get to keep that and get earned from it. So I think that's smart on WWE and TKO. So, but yeah. So going back to, I kind of ran on a rant there, guys. I'm sorry. I do that sometimes. But going back to John Cena, because, he did announce his retirement for 2025. Who are some matches you guys want to see? But the three moments, I think it was 2005 when he won the World WWE title. I liked his character at the time, especially when he came out as the Doctor of Thugonomics. And then he became John Cena, the John Cena. My time is now. But the two moments I loved even better. This was after his whole Super Cena and he was burying people allegedly, and his whole no one could beat Cena and his reigns. It was almost like Hogan-esque. So I think was obviously 2006 when Rob Van Dam beat him at One Night Stand. I think that was a cool moment. I think it was right for Rob Van Dam. The guy had a great career. Granted, he screwed it up for himself, but it happens, and he's okay now. He's a Hall of Famer. He was a WWE champion. He's been champion in different promotions. He was still going strong in 2023, 24 when he had that, so a couple of matches with Jack Perry. But, and then, of course, the third favorite moment, 2011 Money in the Bank, CM Punk in Chicago. Go to sleep, wins the title, blows the kiss, gone. So I think that was really cool. But of course, the next night, John gets his rematch with Ray. Ray can't have his moment. He's a Hall of Famer. And yeah, no, I agree, Johnson. He put over Sheamus. Nobody saw that coming. When he let Sheamus win the title, it was very weird to see Sheamus with the title. And he was only like 4 months into his run in WWE when he beat Cena. So that was shocking. But then again, Sheamus has always been a Triple H guy, a Paul guy, Paul Levesque, not Paul Heyman. So just remember that. But yeah, no. So Cena retiring. I'd like to see him have one more match with Orton. I'd like to see him put over some young talent. I'd like to see him against Carmella. Riley, you were saying earlier you love watching, the matches between Andrade and Carmelo. And yeah, it was Extreme Rules 2010. Yes. And so when he was with Carmelo, and I would love to see him wrestle Carmelo and put Carmelo over. I think Carmelo's got a bright future on the main roster. Um, I'd like to see him maybe go one on one with Cody because I don't think they had some chemistry back when Cody was there the first run. I don't know. Um, I don't think we'll see a heel turn from Cena in 2025, or maybe he just says, "I'm done, my last match," and then flips him off and goes to Hollywood. I don't know. You never know. Maybe he goes Peacemaker and just becomes a sarcastic dick. Who knows? But yeah, no, Cena leaving is something different. It definitely is an end of a career and an end of an era with Cena. So I know I'm talking about a lot of WWE stuff, but a lot of AEW stuff has happened too in the summer. We've had the formation of almost the new Elite and them holding all the gold. We've had the injury to Adam Copeland, which I believe right now is something that shouldn't have happened. I think it was a spot that probably should have been talked about and probably not have happened. But again, that's their call. They want to put on a good show and they want to take risks. But it's silly to get an injury from that. It really is. You saw a return of Britt Baker. We hadn't seen Britt Baker in a while, and we got to see her return at Forbidden Door, which, by the way, included a great women's match. You guys know me. I am always supportive of women's pro wrestling, especially now because it's now more athletic than it was back in the day. So, so I thought that was a good match. And then the following of Britt Baker returning, awesome. So now we get a Britt Baker Mercedes Moné match at All In London. And again, I like to see your guys' opinions of so far with John Cena retiring. Who'd you like to see him wrestle? So just leave the comments. You guys have been leaving them so far. Again, appreciate every single one of them and everything. So then we go to the talk about at the end of August we had SummerSlam, one of the biggest summer events outside of All In, and the return of Roman Reigns. So Roman Reigns has not been seen since losing to Cody at WrestleMania 40. So seeing, let's see, well, here we go, Davis. Thank you for joining, Davis. I was wondering when you were going to comment, but I was pretty sure you were going to be here tonight. Cena hasn't gone against W. Mello, Breaker, Knight, Andrade, Gunther, Fatu. I think any one of those matches, especially if he puts over those young guys, would be fantastic. Him and LA Knight, Andrade. You could say they're a little older than the ones you just mentioned, but they're staples on the roster now that I think you can get away with them going against Cena. But we also got to see what Cena's schedule's like for 2025. I don't know if he's going to wrestle every show. He may do the big four. He may do Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. He may do those four, maybe one more PLE, maybe a couple appearances on Raw or SmackDown. But we never know what his schedule is. So, we'd have to see what it is. So, going back to AEW, you got a lot of stuff going on. You had the shock of Bryan Danielson winning the Owen Hart tournament and earning his match at All In for the world title against Swerve Strickland, which is crazy. So, this has been, this is basically end of the year for Daniel Bryan as well. Or Bryan Danielson, whatever you want to call him. Bryan Danielson, so he's coming towards the year. Do we see him winning it All In? I think one of the things I've been thinking about, and actually someone had mentioned it in a group chat today. Well, not group chat, but a group wrestling group, saying, what if they have the gauntlet match at All In? The gauntlet match to earn a shot at the world title. What if Paige wins that later in the night, at the end of the night, at the main event, career versus title, Swerve versus Bryan, and before it even starts, Paige comes out and says, I want my title shot. It makes it triple threat. So your main event is a triple threat. And somehow, some way, you continue the feud of Paige versus Swerve and Bryan Danielson winning the title just for the rest of the year, because obviously he's done in December. So maybe he wrestles all the way up until World's End and passes that title off to someone else. I mean, look at it as far as Sting. Sting wanted to lose at Revolution, but they're like, no, retire a champ. Maybe Bryanson does the same, where he goes all the way till the end of the year. After World's End, wins, and the next Dynamite says, I'm done, so I'm going to relinquish this title because I can't do this anymore. So you never know. So, but yes, back to SummerSlam. Roman Reigns returns again. Another rant. Sorry, guys. Roman Reigns returns, and a huge roar from the crowd because people. I'm very excited to see him back. I mean, he was pretty much the face for 2.5, 3 years in that company, from the COVID year until all the way to WrestleMania 40. He was by far the face, and so once he lost the title, people saw, okay, Cody Rhodes is now the guy to carry the title. And so, now you're like, all right, he's back. And now you got this new storyline. No, honestly, Johnson, that's a good point. I'll share with you guys, and then I'll get back to Roman. He says, go off topic, but feel like it's a safe place to discuss. But for the WB, AEW has not been the same for a while. I always support the company, but I wish Tony. I agree. As far as us as a group in our, podcast group, we all agree. We still love AEW, but it's just not the same. We want it, the old school AEW, the feel for it, and so we're not getting that. And again, we've always talked about, well, Tony needs a man for creative. Tony can't just handle creative by himself. He needs somebody, and that was someone that I thought would be Scott D'Amore. But Scott just reopened Stampede Pro Wrestling, so I don't know how much plate space Scott D'Amore will have to work with AEW, since he's reopening up Stampede Pro Wrestling up in Calgary and starting that up again. We just saw a photo and discussion happen between Shane and Tony. For the life of me, I'm hoping they don't bring Shane on for creative, maybe just as an advisor. I mean, because the man is a McMahon. He's been in the game since he was a kid from his father. So he's probably gotten a lot of knowledge. But I agree, Johnson. I don't think AEW's been the same. I still watch it just because I want to, because I'm still supportive of it. But sometimes I cringe at some of it. I will say the one thing going for it is the Tony Storm and Mariah May. But yeah, no, I agree. And then maybe they could. Yes, Riley, I agree. Maybe they could, But I'm going to finish out with SummerSlam and then with All In, because we're going to try to keep this episode short. But yeah, no, Riley, they could. I mean, make Shane a Collision GM or Authority. I mean, they've got Christopher Daniels as a sub, authority figure making decisions on behalf of Tony Khan. But even then, like, you need more. Like, you need more people in charge of other things, And so I don't know about the Young Bucks as part of Dynamite. I don't know. If they lose their titles at All In, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, no, I totally agree. But for Roman Reigns, we go forward with this new bloodline versus old school bloodline. So obviously you might have Roman back with the Usos and maybe bring in one more person to have on their side. Zilla Fatu is another one. They've been talking about him coming over. So maybe they bring him over. And, but then you get the story of Paul Heyman. People were saying, what if Paul Heyman returns and turns on Roman? And, he joins Solo. I don't think that's going to happen. The way they destroyed Paul Heyman that one episode of SmackDown, I think he rejoins Roman Reigns and that old school. Or someone like a Sami Zayn. Let's say that, Jay and Sami win the titles over on Raw. And you got Tama and Jacob as the champions on SmackDown. You have those two tag championships on two groups that one was the original bloodline, one is this new bloodline. Boom, you got a war. You got the Bloodline Civil War and War Games, so never know where you're going to go. But as we're coming to an end about summertime, we're going to end on a note about All In, as All In is basically the last event for summer for this year, and it's one of the bigger shows. They just announced that they'll have All In Texas next year. So that could be huge. I don't know if there'll be much of a bigger show than it has been in Wembley. But maybe they just wanted something different. Maybe it's going to change every 2 years. Maybe they do Wembley 2 years in a row, go to Texas, maybe back to Wembley, and then another place at 2 years. And so, yeah, I am too, Davis. I think Survivor Series is going to be a really cool show. I think it's just great to be a pro wrestling fan right now. I think there's a lot of fun stuff going on. But before I wrap that up that way, let's talk about All In. So far, the card is full. Let's not kid ourselves. It's a full card. A lot of matches on it. A lot of multi-man match. You got the gauntlet match, and now you got a triple threat match for the tag titles. And now you're going to have a 4-way ladder match for the trios titles. I mean, you think about that way. Trios, 3 group. You're at 12 people in a ring and around the ring at one point for the trios titles. Maybe that's where we see Luchasaurus turn and leave the patriarchy. I mean, they've been teasing that for a while. You'll have some pre-show matches. Obviously Ishii and Willow versus Chris and Stokely. You'll have your main card shows. I mean, obviously Mariah versus Timeless Tony Storm is one match I'm definitely looking forward to. I think that's one of the better storylines going on in AEW right now. Then you'll have the TNT title again in a coffin match for Darby. Darby needs to slow down. He's going to kill himself. That's my honest opinion. I love Darby, but he needs to slow down before he kills himself. So obviously, I highly expect Jack Perry to retain. I'm maybe expecting Okada versus Claudio on the card. I don't know when they're going to have that title match for the Continental, but I know it's happening. Then you've got the TBS title, obviously Britt Baker, Mercedes. We'll see how that goes. Do we pull the trigger and put the title on Britt, or does Mercedes still has a pull in AEW and say, no, I'm keeping the title, yada, yada, yada. You paid me this much. It's my title. So I don't know. And you got to see where Camille plays a role in that. I'm predicting Jack Perry will open the coffin. Sting will be inside. That's funny, Davis. What if he's like, I'm not retired. Come here. So so that you got that match, and then obviously you got the main event. I still think it's going to be let's talk about the other one, MJF and Will Ospreay Part 2 for the AEW American Championship, not the International Championship, although I think Will wins it and reverts it back to the International Championship, or they keep the American Championship. I don't know. I do think we do see a returning Daniel Garcia though to exact his revenge on MJF. So we might see a return in Jamie Hayter. I'm predicting that as well. I think Jamie Hayter comes back at All In as well. I don't know how you cannot. Maybe Mariah May wins and Jamie Hayter shows up and confronts Mariah May. Then you have that as a feud. But again, the main event, Bryan Danielson and Swerve with a possible interject of Adam Page. I think that's going to be a great show stealer. I agree, Davis. I think MJF and Ospreay will probably have one of the better matches of the nights too. That 1 hour match that they had on Dynamite was phenomenal. They paced it well. I totally agree that they can do it a second time at All In. So I totally agree. And so, the card looks good. I think, I honestly think the card's going to be okay. We got to see where the last couple of Dynamites happen. Again, we never know. Is Bryan Danielson going to win? Is Swerve Strickland going to retain? Is Adam Page going to be involved? So lots of things happening right there. So that's going to be it for tonight, guys. Just want to do a quick little 45-minute Talking Elite episode tonight. Might change the time next week. Do a little earlier if we can, because I know it's a little late. Sorry about that. But hey, you guys are home. You guys wanted to watch something. You guys want to be involved in something. I mean, that's it just really cool. I agree, Davis. Yeah, maybe it's going to be Danielson. But again, Davis, yes, thank you. All you guys that joined and watched and commented, Davis, Johnson, Riley, thank you guys, for joining me tonight and literally just being awesome and leaving your thoughts. I want to thank all you guys for subscribing, liking, sharing, and all that stuff. Make sure you guys join us every week for shows. Tuesday, I'll be back again with our great friend Matt from the North with AZ Canada. Wednesday, you'll have your Dynamite reaction. And, make sure you catch some of our interviews. We just did Barry Horowitz, so make sure you guys catch that. We got a couple on the line, I think. Connor had mentioned he still wants to get Victoria on here. And then, maybe Raven. That's one of the big ones he wants to do. So little tidbits there. So, again, make sure you guys stay with us. Comics, thank you guys for watching as well. Again, another one-man show with me, Adam Lexi, your bearded wonder. I want to say thank you guys. And if there's nothing else, you guys have a great night, and we'll see you next time.